Welcome to Apologetics for the Rest of Us podcast with Dr. Ray Ciervo. This podcast seeks to simplify the complex challenges to our faith for the everyday follower of Jesus Christ. You'll discover how to give answers to everyone who asks you about the hope within your heart, as Dr. Ray explains not only what we believe, but why we believe what we do. And now here's your host, Dr. Ray Ciervo.
Hey, this is Ray Ciervo of No Pat Answers, and this is Apologetics for the Rest of Us, episode 13, and we're going to do something a little bit different today again. It seems like there's some winds of change blowing through the ministry, at least through this podcast. And what I'm going to do with this episode is look at three different people that Claudia has put on the spot. Two of them are her colleagues, and one of them, I believe, is a family relative, and ask them some questions about who God is. And so the first one up is Adrian Castro. I believe he is the Spanish teacher and also soccer coach at the school that Claudia teaches at. Okay, so here we go.
So today we're putting Adrian on the spot with our question. When you think of God, what do you think of?
Oof, it's a loaded question.
Do you want me to wait?
I think of a power, something bigger than us,
Okay.
something mystical,
Okay. Good.
right? Something that's, I think it's unknown. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So you think God is unknown, but he's there.
He's there, but it's like, when is he there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what Adrian tells us is that his view of God is that God is a power, he's mystical, and that he is there. Not always sure. So that's an interesting thing about who God is, and it's very, very much part of what we think. Now, here's what I don't think that Adrian said, and that is that he didn't say that God was a being, just a power, and that he was mystical. And that leads you to the idea that we really can't know who God is. And I just want to sit on that, and we'll come back and look at more about what Adrian said in a minute.
Hi, this is Claudia with No Pat Answers, and we're on the spot again. And today I have the pleasure of putting Juliet on the spot. So Juliet, we're going to ask you a question, and there's no wrong or right answer. We just want to pique your curiosity or pique your thinking, if you will. When you think of God, what do you think of?
Well, so I always described it as thinking of not in a way kind of leaning more towards the Catholic and Christian idea of God, but still not the exact idea of how the Bible and stuff like that describes him, because I never thought in the ways of all of the Bible-y stuff. I just never felt like that, but I still feel like it's kind of just a being that oversees everything. He's not, I'm saying he, but it's not a he or she. I think I'm conditioned to say he, but I think it's something not fathomable by the minds of earth. It's something that we wouldn't be able to describe because we haven't seen it yet. And seeing God will be seeing something completely different than anything we've seen on earth before. It's not going to be some man in a robe. It's going to be just, I always imagine kind of like a light, like a figure of just light, something like that.
Okay, so Juliet now tells us something about God, which I think was very articulate, and that she doesn't believe that it is the way God is in the Bible, but that she kind of sees God as, again, a power, but it's something that we can't really know, something that is beyond human knowledge and nothing of the earth. There's some mixed things in there. She's thought through this. I love the word she used, biblically. That one we have to coin that phrase, that this is not biblically. and that, there's some things there that we want to look at. But again, God is a mystery, and we really can't know who he is or what he is or what it is in her words. So those are some things that we want to definitely come back and look at concerning these ideas of who God is. Next up is Dr. Cartagena, who gives some really well thought out ideas about God. And I would like to respond to him, but here he is. Let's first listen to him, and I'm going to put a little tag on the end of it when he asks me a question. Okay, let's go. We'll come back.
When you think of God, what do you think of?
When I think of God, I think of as an all empowering energy that's controlling the universe and everything that's within it. I don't think of it as a man or a woman sitting on a cloud. I just think of it as a controlling energy that controls every aspect of our life. I believe there's something out there that we call God, but I think it's more of an overpowering energy than any entity or individual or along those lines. I think everyone should have some sort of belief in this because I think the world and all its tangible items have to be governed by some force, if you will.
So Mr. Cartagena says, one of the things that he says I think is very important. He says that God is this power, this all-encompassing power all over, and that it governs everything. Now here's the one that I really think is important that Mr. Cartagena said. He said everyone should believe in that, or believe in something that governs everything. I don't want to use the word deterministic, in that this power, this would be putting words in Dr. Cartagena's mouth, but the idea that came to me was that this power controls everything that happens. Now, I would just point out that there's a difference between being controlling and being in control. Those are two different things. I think that we ought to be in control of our lives. Not necessarily can we be controlling everything that happens in our lives. Those are two different things. However, an omniscient God, a God who knows everything, and an omnipotent God, a God who is all-powerful, or a being in whom all power resides, could be deterministic. In other words, he could determine everything that's going to happen according to what he wants to happen. How he does that is another complete story. When you add in 7 billion free wills in operation, now it takes an all-wise God to really get things done the way he would like to see them done. And we see what's being played out in a time-space dimension, God accomplishing his will, even though there are 7 billion plus free wills in operation. But I want to respond to Dr. Cartagena too, and he asks a question, and I want to answer that question.
So if you could turn around and put us on the spot,
Okay.
What kind of question would you have for us? Because we're going to seek to give you sound, reasonable, relevant answers.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to show, like I was telling you, my mentor, Dr. Ray Ciervo, this video, and he's going to answer you.
Okay. Do you think it's important for everyone to have a faith?
Okay, some great things to talk about, but we're going to take a short break and come right back.
If you're enjoying Apologetics for the Rest of Us, we invite you to help support us. You can donate by going to www.nopatanswers.com and click on the Support Us button. You can also send a check to RCM P.O. Box 507, Ocean, New Jersey, 07755. We are grateful you are listening to the podcast and pray it helps you strengthen your faith and witness.
So Dr. Cartagena's question was not very deep in a sense, but I think it's profound. He said, do I believe, or do we believe, that everyone should have faith? or believe in something? And my answer to that is a resounding yes. Now, we've interviewed several people, some students, some other colleagues, some people on the street, some people Claudia Kaya has known or gone up to and asked this question. And I would say this, Socrates said that an unexamined life is not worth living. And to that I would say that an unexamined faith is not worth believing. Even though I believe, as Dr. Cartagena asked, do we believe that everyone should have faith? I would say absolutely. And in fact, I think everyone does have faith. It's what your faith is placed in. And I think faith can be a religious word. I think, obviously, we translate it in the New Testament from the word pistos, and we really mean trust, or what the New Testament really means is trust, putting our trust in something. And I would say this, that your faith, that is that belief that you have, is only as good as the object you place it in. So whether you have a New Age view of God as a force, more like a Star Wars understanding of the force, that there's this yin and yang out there, there's good and evil out there, and we have to outweigh the evil with good, or we see so many bad things happening, we don't question it. I say this with all respect and all reverence, but mostly people have a confused view of who God is. And I think the confusion really lies in the idea that no one really has examined what they believe in. And I would say this, that when you believe in something, put your trust in something so huge, like this entity or this force or this energy we call God, have you done due diligence and researched that? Have you really gone out and looked into it? Now, I believe that most people discard the Bible based on what Christians do. And whether they be Catholic or Protestant, some denomination, or people who don't align with a denomination, that is non-denominational people, we judge the truth claim by the actions of those who say that they adhere to it. I think that's a mistake. I wouldn't reject investing on Wall Street because there have been Ponzi schemes or because some brokers act dishonestly. I still think that investing wisely is something that could lead to good conclusions. And I think that when you say you believe in something, you should have an authority that tells you this is worth believing. You should have an authority that tells you this is worth believing. And this is something I can put my trust in. Let me just start off by saying that, if Christianity is not true, if Jesus is not alive from the dead, then you really have nothing to worry about. It's of no consequence if you don't believe in it. However, if Jesus is alive from the dead, if the Bible, in fact, claims Jesus is alive, which it does, the New Testament especially, tells us that Jesus is alive from the dead. If that is true, then it's of most significance. That was said in another way by C.S. Lewis somewhere in one of his books, maybe Mere Christianity. But here's what I would exhort people to do who are listening here, and you can pass this on to unbelievers or people who are sitting on the fence, or many people who grew up in a church and went to Mass every Sunday or services every Sunday and really never paid attention to what was going on. Search it out. Go back and look at the evidence. And let me tell you that today there are volumes of evidence that we can assess. I'm not telling you have faith in this. Here's what I would say. I believe Jesus is alive from the dead. And it's not because I was raised as a Christian, it's because I believe it's true. That is, I believe that what is said or what is written in the New Testament is in fact verifiable. You can see evidence for it both within the New Testament and outside the New Testament. You can find secular writers who confirm what the disciples said they saw and how some of them died, basically that it was all true. And we have writers like Tacitus and Pliny the Younger, Suetonius, some people that are significant in the ancient world. Because the evidence really that has to be proven is that we want to assess is that those who wrote the Gospels, did they really know what they were doing? Did they know what they were writing about? Now, here's what I would say. If they were eyewitnesses or investigated eyewitnesses, they would know the geography, the economics, they would know the military structure, the politics, they would know the names of the people who are in government position or religious positions, and those things could all be verified by external sources, and that you could find whether it was actual or not. And I would especially point you toward the Gospel of John and Luke's writings, the Gospel of Luke and the book of Acts. That's not to leave out Matthew and Mark. Okay, they're also do. And of course, the letters of Paul tell us so much. The whole New Testament can be verified. This has been more than a tradition, because I know that word tradition can be a trigger for some people to mean some dry, repetitive thing that you just do over and over again without really thinking about what you're doing. And that could be accurate in some ways. But what we want to do is investigate. Remember, an unexamined life is not worth living, and an unexamined faith is not worth believing. So you want to examine what you say. When you say that God is a power, there's an element of truth in that. When you say that it's all-encompassing, there's an element of truth in that. When we say that God governs the affairs that go on the earth, there's an element of truth in that. What we want to do is search out, what are we talking about? Are we talking about something that is just electric? It's just kind of like a power that is loose in the universe? Is it something that is just some mysterious force, like from the movies of Star Wars or the whole series of Star Wars or anything like that? Or are we talking about a being that is something that is an entity and has mind and will and has power and knowledge and wisdom? Is that what we're talking about? I would just implore you to investigate what you say you believe. And I want to thank Adrian Castro, Dr. Cartagena, and also Juliet for their candor and their willingness to say these things and allowing me to speak back to him. Now listen, each of you and any of you can contact me at info@NoPatAnswers. Just put podcast in the subject line, and I'll make sure that I read it and respond to you. Would love to have a cup of coffee with you sometime and just talk about the things that you say you believe, and you can question me about anything that I say I believe. Okay, because I examine my faith. I do the research to know and understand what I trust in. Is some of it beyond my reason, my intellect? Absolutely. Absolutely. God is bigger than our intellect can really get fully assessed. But we can know him, not just personally, but know about him. One of the things that I've learned through the years is just because I can't know everything about something doesn't mean I can't know anything about it. We're not talking about a little bit of knowledge, but something that's been well researched and looked at and tested to see if it's true. To me, that's what an examined faith ought to be. Something that is not just looked at, that you know enough to be dangerous. I know what I don't know. I know what the things that I don't think I will ever know until I meet God face to face. And there are other things that even then I don't think I will know everything. But what I do know is what the Bible has claimed to be true. And we have to assess whether the truth claims actually match the facts, the things that actually happen in a historical context. That's what we want to do. Okay, before we sign off today, I want to give you an announcement about this coming Mondays. This will be our next podcast, number 14, where I interview Elisa Childers about her ministry and really how she got to where she is today, writing blogs and really focusing in on a particular aspect of what's happening in the church. And that's in the evangelical church, and perhaps even among Catholics you might even find some of this. So don't miss this. It's really important. And one more thing to say is that our next annual conference is April 25th, and Elisa Childers will be with us then as our guest speaker. So make sure you save the date, put that down. If you can help us, support us, you can go to my webpage, nopatanswers.com, click on the donate button, and you can make a monthly contribution or just a one-time gift. That would be great also. You don't know how much we depend and are thankful for the people that get behind what I'm doing in trying to help the church make a case for Christ, to understand the obstacles that people have from coming to faith and coming to Jesus. And that's what we're trying to do with these podcasts, my teaching, conferences, seminars, and YouTube channel, is try to teach things that you can understand clearly. So thank you for listening or watching today. Make sure you like us on Facebook. That is Ray Ciervo Ministries. You subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that you also subscribe to us on iTunes. Give us a good rating and help us move to the top. Share this with people that you think this might help as well. So for Ray Ciervo, I'm going to sign off right now.
You've been listening to Apologetics for the Rest of Us with Dr. Ray Ciervo. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and subscribe to our podcast. Also, please visit our website at www.nopatanswers.com, where you'll find more information about conferences and seminars. If you have questions for Dr. Ciervo, you can email him at info@nopatanswers.com. Have a great day, and God bless.